How are you doing today?
I've got the story right here. I just read it. It's I did it in 1992. Yeah, so a lot of things have changed.
What do you think about it?
There's some things that are still, up to date, but most of it's changed. There's an awful lot of changes, in 40 years, 35 years.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with you a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure.
It's so interesting. Well, how would you like to introduce yourself? How would you describe yourself?
I've been in this area now for about 38 years. I lived in Sedona for about 35, and I now live in Cottonwood, Arizona. I've been on worldwide radio 91 times now as of 2 days ago. So I've spoken to about 75 million people.
That's incredible.
I've written 8 books. 4 of them are still in print.
I found this article that you had written in the Sedona Journal of Emergence back in 1992, and I thought it'd be kind of exciting to talk to you about it since so much has changed in the world since that time. The article's called UFOs, ETs, and You, and this is from the October 1992 issue.
Everything since then, I've been on worldwide radio 91 times. It'll be 92 next week. So an awful lot has changed. I'm one of the world's experts on anything paranormal, and especially human extraterrestrials. That's been my focus for about 30 years, human extraterrestrials. And I have been face to face with three extraterrestrials.
Wow.
So two of them weren't human. I mean, they were human. No, they were human-like, but they weren't human. Because the guy was about 6 foot 8 inches. He had one blue eye and one green eye.
Wow.
And she was a tall white, and the tall whites don't like us. They're here, but they don't like us. But I'm 6 foot 2. She was about my height.
Oh, wow.
She had snow white skin, dressed all in black, and she had wraparound sunglasses that covered her eyes. And then the other humanoid, the human girl, extraterrestrial, materialized. This is a long story, so I'm making it short. But I was on a hike with my girlfriend at that time, and this girl, she looked about 27 years old, and she materialized right there in front of us.
Oh, wow.
And what happens if there's kind of a blue fog that forms, and then they materialize. I'd like to know how they do that. But so anyway, she got to be 10 inches from my face.
Oh, wow.
And she spoke English, but she spoke so low that I had to put my ear right up to her mouth. And then so we talked a little bit, and then my girlfriend got my attention, so I turned away from the extraterrestrial woman, and I turned back, and she was gone.
Oh, wow.
I had been talking to her.
That's amazing. Was she physical as we know it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She did. No human could do that. No ghost could do that.
Totally.
I'm an expert on just about any subject. These talk shows I've been on, I say I'll talk about anything. I'm an authority on everything.
This is great.
So that's what we do.
Yeah, it's really an honor to talk to you. I was just wondering if you were connected these days to any particular group or of extraterrestrials.
No, I'm all by myself. No, I'm not. There's no, no groups, no clubs, no. There used to be. There used to be. In the early days, there was lots of groups and whatnot around, but not anymore. It's so I'm basically totally by myself.
Well, this is very interesting to look at your article from back in October 1992. And I'm just wondering what you believe is the level of government deception nowadays versus in 1992.
Well, it's even more, they're great liars. They're not telling us the truth about any of this stuff. There are many extraterrestrials that are here, and the government knows about it. One friend of mine wrote a book called Strangers at the Pentagon. This was in about occurred about 1950, and they're still there. These extraterrestrials are still there in the Pentagon, and he proved it. I mean, he more or less proved it. So the government's lying to us. I mean, they're not telling us the truth, and for I'm not sure what reason, but probably because they would know that they're not the only power, that there are extraterrestrials that are here that could overpower the governments anytime they wanted to, and that's the truth.
Right. And what about the so-called files that the government released about some top secret UFO files a couple years ago? Do you have any opinions or thoughts about that?
Most of that was not true. I mean, it was what the government does. They'll it's misinformation, and they'll tell a little bit of truth, and then fake news. So it just keeps everybody really confused. The government, they're really not. They're not telling us. I mean, I know because I'm in touch with some top level government people. You know, they tell me what's going on, but the general public doesn't know it. These are CIA agents, colonels in the Air Force, colonels in the Marines, that sort of thing. And so I get the information that basically the public never hears.
Well, do you know if it's just the U.S. government, or are there different world governments in on this?
You know, I worked with the Soviets about 25 years ago, and the Russians didn't keep any secrets. Whatever they knew, they'd tell the people. Yeah. And so they did not keep secrets, but the U.S. government was. They wouldn't tell us anything. So I knew what the Soviets knew, and it didn't compare to the U.S. government at all. They just the U.S. government is they're just not leveling with us.
Right.
And it's going to be a mistake. They're getting caught.
Right. Yeah. And why do you think over the years that you were chosen? Do you believe that you were chosen by certain groups or people to disseminate information?
Well, I've been asked that often. And so many strange things happen to me. People say, "You're not human, you're an alien." And I go, "Well, okay, maybe I am, I don't know." But no, things happen to me, all the books, all 8 books that I wrote. It's all true. I didn't sensationalize anything. And I've talked to some of the world's experts on this stuff, and I know things they don't. So, and how do I know that? It almost seems like I was chosen to talk about this stuff now. So I don't. I really don't know. A million times I've gone, why me? Why me?
Right.
Why do I know this stuff? But I do. I mean, conservatively, I've talked to 75 million people, and it's probably been closer to 90 million.
Wow.
Because I've been on Coast to Coast 3 times. They have 9 million listeners on prime time. I was on prime time, so there's almost 30 million right there. So
I love Coast to Coast.
Yeah, and nobody attacks me anymore. I used to get attacked constantly.
Oh wow!
But nobody attacks me anymore verbally.
Do you think that's because the world is more ready now?
Yeah, the people want to know now. They're not just blowing you off. They're starting to finally open up so that they want to know. The curiosity is they're open to stuff that they wouldn't believe just 10 years ago. So I tell them.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for telling them and for telling the world. I appreciate you and your work. So back to the article from 1992. I just want to read one of the excerpts here. It says, "We're headed towards some world-changing event. This, I think, will be like nothing that has ever occurred before. In my estimation, this event should be in full swing by 1995 and end or culminate around the year 2010. So what are your thoughts on that now? Do you think that the change or shift has happened, and why or why not?
It's going to happen. That was actually pretty good estimate by me, but I was about 30 years too early. Now we're very close to it, and remote viewing is an incredible thing. And I really most people teach remote viewing, charge up to $5,000 a person.
Wow.
So I give it away free now.
Wow.
So I talk about it a lot. These shows want to know, and I've had some of the best, the most authentic people in the world call me one of the world's best. So
yes,
I know, I know these people. So at any rate, so that's part of the whole thing is remote viewing, and I've come a long, long way since that 1992 article. I'm 79 years old now, and I was doing a talk to an audience that was wall to wall. Even people were standing around the walls, and I was paused the audio. I had a little bit of a problem with the audio. A woman stood up and she says, "You're one of the last of the great ones."
Wow.
And I thought, that's really cool. Most of Wendell Stevens, Bob Dean, they're all gone. They've died. And I knew what they knew. Because they were my friends. So I was really flattered about that. She said, "Yeah, you're one of the last of the world, the great ones." So that was pretty flattering. Yeah.
Well, this is, you talked a lot about how the changes have been rather significant since the 90s on this subject. Is there one particular change over the years that has stood out to you in terms of humanity?
Well, it was, like I said, it used to be little green men jokes, that sort of thing. That doesn't happen anymore because people realize extraterrestrials it's a very serious thing. And do we have enemies, extraterrestrials? Maybe. I don't know. All the ones that I know of are friends. And I have a friend in the CIA that deals with extraterrestrials all the time. So if he tells me the stories and all that, and he's I know him well. He's telling the truth. He's a CIA operative. So they're here. The extraterrestrials are here, and they're among us.
Yes, most definitely they are. Yes.
Yeah. And they look enough like, some of them look enough like us, so they can get away with it. But there's a lot of them here, coming and going. I would estimate. Well, I know of 16 human extraterrestrial races, and there are probably 50. Yeah.
What do you think is their main goal these days? Has that changed?
Well, most of them are studying us. They're trying to understand our emotions, because most extraterrestrials are way evolved past the kind of emotion we have, the stuff. So that this group that my CIA friend is they reluctantly took him up on their ship and showed him, but they're just here to research us. They say we had no intention of contacting any humans on this, here on the Earth, but they contacted him. So he's been talking about it, and he's been telling me about it. But there's many of them here, because I know I'm one of the world's top experts in this stuff, and I know almost all the other ones. So we compare notes,
Yeah.
And there are many extraterrestrials here from all races, everywhere.
I'm excited about that. I think it's about time that people start talking about this more. And what would you say to folks, or what are you saying to people who have witnessed UFOs lately? What should they do if they've seen a UFO or spoken to an extraterrestrial?
Well, there's a lot of people claim they do, but I kind of doubt it. There's too many wannabe people that fantasize a story and then believe it. And so then they start telling other people. And I know people that have, they charge $500 a head for a 3-day gig at their conference, and they're liars.
Wow.
They're not. These people are. So I'm trying to educate people. Be thinkers, and it's happening. I have people that were my enemies. I would consider them my enemies now. Now they're totally, no, not enemies really, but just totally disbeliever. Like I was full of BS, and now they're on my side. And three of my biggest attackers, and one is he's a natural rocket scientist, a NASA rocket scientist. He's on my side now.
I love this so much. What would you say to regular folks about being discerning of whether or not they can believe somebody about this.
Well, that's hard because I've been there, and I know I have such great knowledge about all this, so it's easy for me. Myself and a friend of mine just got sucked into a hoax, and this was so clever, we both fell for it.
Oh, wow.
And it was a total hoax, because, these people, they talk to me, and they'll usually say something, one word or one sentence, and that's it. I'm done with them.
Mm-hmm.
But this woman, and my friend Eric is probably, he's a full-time researcher. He makes enough money. He has a company in California that his employees run it, and he just goes and investigates Bigfoot and UFO stuff and all that. And she fooled both of us.
Wow.
At any rate, it turned out to be a hoax, total fabricated hoax.
Oh, wow.
It was about Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh. Well, how can if sometimes you can get caught up in it, who's an expert, what do we have to go on?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm glad people listen to me, because I tell people, if you prove me wrong, that's the end of it. Whatever I talk about on air is I can prove it.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time. Whatever I talk about on the air, I can prove it.
Yes.
Somehow, other eyewitnesses, photographs, something, So, and I say that constantly, and if I say something, somebody proves me wrong, that's the end of it.
That's
I'm
right.
Not gonna fight yeah, not gonna fight about it.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to comment on that has changed about extraterrestrials and humanity since the 90s, since this article was written?
Well, don't go looking for it. Just let it happen. If you want to meet an extraterrestrial, just keep your mind open to it. If you think about extraterrestrials, they can hear it. They can hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I've proved it with other people. I've proved it. So, but it's just there's enormous changes that are going on right now. So we just need to be ready for it. So it's nobody knows what, but something's happening. Something's going to happen. Some enormous change on this planet.
Yes, I can feel it. I can feel it too.
Everybody can. Just about everybody.
Yeah. Well, I am very grateful that you came on this call for us today, and I can't wait for our longer interview to come soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Where can people find you these days?
So the only way is on Facebook.
Great.
Yeah, that's the only way. I used to get as many as 50 emails a day, and I can't keep up with it. So anyway, Facebook is the only way.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, well, it's fun. I always enjoy these things.
Me too. Well,
yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay, sweetie. Well, bye.
Bye.